The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with excited chatter as representatives from across the known universe gathered for the most important vote in millennia. Towering crystalline beings from Xerion Prime clicked their razor-sharp appendages against marble floors, while the gaseous nebula lords floated in their containment suits, their forms shifting between purple and gold. At the center of it all sat the humans. Earth's delegation consisted of 3 unremarkable individuals wearing simple gray suits. Ambassador Sarah Chen appeared nervous, constantly adjusting her glasses and shuffling through papers. Her assistant, a thin man named David Park, kept dropping his stylus and apologizing profusely. The third human, General Marcus Webb, looked like he would rather be anywhere else in the galaxy. "Order! Order!" boomed Chancellor Vextar, his forearms slamming against his podium. The massive reptilian creature's scales glowed orange with authority. "Today we decide the fate of the Terran system. The motion before us is simple. Shall we enforce Galactic Standard Protocol 7 Alpha upon the human homeworld?" A collective hiss of agreement rippled through the chamber. Protocol 7 Alpha meant complete subjugation. The targeted species would surrender all military assets, submit to galactic oversight, and provide tribute in the form of resources and labor. It was typically reserved for primitive worlds that posed potential future threats. Ambassador Chen stood slowly, her hands trembling. "Honored Chancellor, esteemed delegates, Earth formally requests to address this assembly before any vote is taken." Laughter erupted from multiple sections. The insectoid hive queen Zaxth's mandibles clicked in amusement. "The livestock wishes to speak. How quaint." "Let the human embarrass herself," rumbled General Korath of the Titan Empire, his cybernetic eye glowing red. "It will make their surrender all the sweeter." Chen cleared her throat, her voice barely carrying across the vast chamber. "Earth has been a member of this council for 57 years. We have paid our membership dues, attended every session, and followed all galactic laws to the letter. We have never threatened another world or shown aggression toward any species." "Precisely the problem," interrupted Admiral Zephyria of the Void Fleet. Her translucent blue form pulsed with energy. "Your species spreads across your solar system like a plague. You multiply endlessly. You consume resources without restraint. Left unchecked, you will become a galactic threat." "But we're not a threat," David Park stammered, dropping his stylus again. "We can barely maintain our own space stations. Our weapons are primitive. Our ships can't even leave our solar system without breaking down." This drew more laughter. It was true that human technology seemed pathetically outdated. Their ships used chemical rockets and nuclear fusion, while the galaxy had moved on to quantum drives and stellar manipulation. Human weapons fired simple projectiles, while advanced civilizations wielded matter disruptors and dimensional bombs. Chancellor Vextar's aide, a floating orb of pure intellect called Unit 9, projected holographic data above the assembly. "Analysis confirms human technological inferiority. Their most advanced warships are equivalent to our civilian transport vessels. Their planet-based defenses could be neutralized by a single dreadnought." General Webb finally spoke, his voice rough with what sounded like resignation. "We know we can't fight you. Hell, any one of your fleets could glass our entire planet before we could fire a shot. We're asking for mercy, not presenting a challenge." The crystalline ambassador from Xerion Prime chimed like broken glass. "Mercy is inefficient. Your species exhibits classic pre-sapient aggressive tendencies masked by superficial cooperation. Historical analysis of 347 similar species shows 89.7% probability of future galactic destabilization." "The mathematics are clear," agreed the cerebral collective speaker, its massive brain pulsing behind a transparent dome. "Human emotional volatility, combined with rapid reproduction and resource consumption, creates an unacceptable risk matrix. Preemptive action is logical." Chen looked around desperately. What if we accepted limitations? Population controls, resource quotas, technological restrictions. Temporary measures? Hissed Queen Zacht. Your kind cannot be trusted to self-regulate. The hive mind has observed similar promises from extinct species. The debate continued for hours, but the outcome was predetermined. Speaker after speaker rose to detail humanity's perceived flaws. They were too emotional, too unpredictable, too numerous, too ambitious. The humans sat in their corner looking increasingly defeated. Finally, Chancellor Vextar called for the formal vote. All in favor of implementing Protocol 7 Alpha upon the Terran system? Thousands of appendages, pseudopods, energy signatures, and cybernetic interfaces registered approval. The vote wasn't even close. Motion carried by overwhelming majority, Vextar announced. The Terran system will be placed under galactic authority. Fleet Admiral Korath will oversee the enforcement operation. General Korath's laugh boomed across the chamber. I will deploy the 7th Battle Group. 300 dreadnoughts should be sufficient to handle any human resistance. We will begin with orbital bombardment of their military installations, followed by ground occupation of major population centers. Ambassador Chen stood one last time, her voice breaking. Please, there must be another way. We've done nothing to deserve this. You exist, replied Admiral Zephyria coldly. That is crime enough. As the assembly began to disperse, Unit 9 floated over to the human delegation. For what little it is worth, your species showed admirable dignity in defeat. Your subjugation will be swift and efficient. Resistance will only increase casualties. The three humans gathered their belongings in silence. Chen wiped away tears she had tried to hide throughout the proceedings. Park fumbled with his scattered papers. General Webb stared at nothing, his jaw clenched. Sir? Park whispered to Webb as they walked toward the exit. What do we do now? Webb was quiet for a long moment. When he finally spoke, there was something different in his voice. Something harder. Now we go home and have a very interesting conversation with some very important people. As their shuttle departed the Galactic Council Station, Admiral Korath was already mobilizing his forces. The 7th Battle Group represented one of the most powerful military formations in galactic history. Each dreadnought could crack a planet's crust. Their escorts could level continents. Their fighters could depopulate cities. Set course for the Sol system, Korath commanded from the bridge of his flagship, the Inevitable Conquest. Maximum speed. I want to crush any human resistance before they can organize. Sir, his tactical officer reported, our intelligence indicates the humans have approximately 40 combat vessels scattered throughout their system, mostly obsolete cruisers and destroyers. Their orbital defense platforms are equally primitive. Pathetic, Korath muttered. This will be over in hours. What Admiral Korath didn't know was that the three humans were having a very different conversation aboard their shuttle. The terrified, bumbling diplomats were gone, replaced by individuals speaking in crisp, professional tones. Phase 1 complete, Chen reported into an encrypted communicator. They took the bait completely. Excellent work, came a voice from Earth. How long until their fleet arrives? General Webb checked his tactical display. Korath is pushing his engines hard. 72 hours, maybe less. He's bringing everything just like we hoped. The 7th Battle Group represents nearly 30% of their total military strength, Park added, no longer stammering. If this works, it'll cripple their ability to respond to the real threat. Copy that, the voice replied. Operation Sleeping Giant is now active. All units are standing by. As the human shuttle entered hyperspace, heading home to what the galaxy believed was certain doom, Chen allowed herself a small smile. 57 years of careful planning was about to pay off. The galaxy was about to learn that Earth had been very, very patient, and humanity's patience had just run out. Behind them, Admiral Korath's massive fleet jumped to hyperspace, racing toward what they believed would be the easiest conquest in galactic history. They had no idea they were flying directly into the most carefully laid trap the universe had ever seen. On Earth, defense platforms that had appeared ancient and primitive for decades began to shift and transform. Weapons that had seemed obsolete powered up with energy signatures that would have terrified the Galactic Council, and deep in hidden bunkers around the world, humans who had spent their entire lives preparing for this moment received the signal they had waited decades to hear. The charade was over. It was time for the galaxy to meet the real Earth. Admiral Korath stood on the bridge of the inevitable conquest, watching the Sol system grow larger on his tactical display. His massive fleet had made excellent time, arriving just 68 hours after departing the Galactic Council station. 300 dreadnoughts, 800 cruisers, and over 2,000 escort vessels spread across space like a metal storm cloud. "Target analysis complete, sir," his tactical officer reported. 41 human vessels detected, mostly concentrated around their homeworld and the gas giant they called Jupiter. Energy signatures confirm primitive nuclear fusion drives and basic plasma weapons. Korath's cybernetic eye zoomed in on the human formations. They looked exactly as pathetic as intelligence had suggested. The ships were bulky, inefficient designs that seemed barely capable of interplanetary travel. Several appeared to be leaking atmosphere. "Their largest vessel registers only 2 kilometers in length," his weapons officer added with amusement. "Our smallest dreadnoughts are 5 times that size." "Sir," the communications officer interrupted, "we're receiving a transmission from the human vessels. Audio only." "Put it through," Korath commanded, anticipating pleas for mercy. A human voice filled the bridge, calm and professional. "This is Admiral Rebecca Santos of the Earth Defense Force. Admiral Korath, you are ordered to reverse course immediately and return to galactic space." The bridge erupted in laughter. Even Korath's usually stoic officers couldn't contain themselves. The sheer audacity of the humans was almost refreshing. "Human Admiral," Korath replied, his voice dripping with condescension. "You command 40 obsolete ships. I command the most powerful battle fleet in the galaxy. Stand down immediately, and I will ensure your deaths are quick." "Admiral Korath," Santos responded, her voice unchanged. "This is your final warning. Withdraw immediately or face the consequences." "The consequences?" Korath roared with laughter. "What consequences could you possibly threaten me with?" There was a brief pause before Santos spoke again. When she did, there was something in her voice that made Korath's laughter die in his throat. "Computer, execute Protocol Omega. Authorization Santos Alpha 77 Delta." For a moment, nothing happened. Korath was about to order the attack when his sensor officer's face went pale. "Sir, something's wrong. I'm reading massive energy spikes throughout the system. The signatures don't match anything in our database." On the main display, space around Earth began to shimmer. What had appeared to be empty voids started revealing shapes, massive shapes. "What am I looking at?" Korath demanded. "Stealth fields dropping, sir. Dear gods, I count over 800 contacts. No, wait, 1,200, 1,500. The numbers kept climbing. Ships materialized from nowhere, emerging from sophisticated cloaking systems that shouldn't have existed in human space. But these weren't the primitive vessels the galaxy knew about. These were sleek, angular monsters that dwarfed even Korath's dreadnoughts. "Impossible," whispered the tactical officer. "Sir, their largest ship is registering 50 kilometers in length. Energy output is... This can't be right." "Report!" Korath snarled. "Sir, the energy signatures are off the scale. These vessels are outputting more power than our entire fleet combined." Around Jupiter, what had appeared to be a small human outpost began to unfold. Massive ring structures emerged from the gas giant's atmosphere, stretching across thousands of kilometers. Weapon platforms the size of moons powered up with energy signatures that made Korath's flagship look like a child's toy. "Admiral," Santos's voice returned, still calm, "allow me to introduce you to humanity's actual military. What you've been observing for the past 57 years was our maintenance crew." The human ships began moving, and Korath realized with growing horror that they moved wrong. No ship should be capable of the acceleration he was witnessing. They were ignoring basic laws of physics, stopping and starting with impossible precision. "Sir," his science officer called out in panic, "they're using spatial manipulation drives. Those are theoretical weapons. The energy requirements alone should be—" "Apparently not theoretical," Korath interrupted grimly. Around Earth's moon, massive installations uncloaked. What had appeared to be mining operations revealed themselves as fortress cities bristling with weapons that seemed to bend space around them. Energy began building in focusing arrays that could have powered entire star systems. "Admiral Korath," Santos continued, "humanity has spent 57 years carefully cataloging every ship, every weapon, every tactical doctrine your species possesses. We know the exact specifications of every vessel in your fleet. We know their weaknesses, their blind spots, their ammunition capacity, and their crew rotations." Korath's hands clenched on his command chair as the human fleet arranged itself in a formation that was both beautiful and terrifying. They moved like dancers, each ship perfectly positioned to support the others while maintaining clear firing lines. "You want to know what consequences you face?" Santos asked. "Let me show you." One of the human ships, barely visible against the star field, fired a single shot. The beam of energy was so intense it appeared to tear space itself. It struck one of Korath's escort cruisers. The ship didn't explode, it simply ceased to exist. One moment it was there, the next it was gone, leaving behind only empty space and confused radio chatter. What was that weapon?" Korath's weapons officer stammered. "Something that unmakes matter at the quantum level," Santos replied, having apparently heard the question. "We call it a nullification beam. Would you like to see more?" Panic began spreading through Korath's fleet. Ships that had jumped into the system expecting easy prey found themselves surrounded by vessels that shouldn't have existed, wielding weapons that defied understanding. "Sir," his communications officer reported, "I'm receiving messages from the other galactic fleets. They're demanding to know why we didn't detect these human vessels." "Because," Santos answered, "our stealth technology operates by shifting our ships slightly out of phase with normal space-time. As far as your sensors were concerned, we simply didn't exist." Around the asteroid belt, more installations revealed themselves. Massive shipyards that had been building humanity's true fleet for decades. Factory complexes that had been producing weapons while the galaxy believed Earth was struggling to maintain basic spaceflight. "Your intelligence networks are impressive," Santos admitted. "For 57 years, you've had spies, monitoring stations, and surveillance satellites throughout our system. Every single one has been feeding you exactly the information we wanted you to receive." Korath felt sick. "You've been planning this for decades." "Admiral, we've been planning this since the day humanity first learned we weren't alone in the universe. When we discovered the galaxy's tendency to subjugate developing species, we made a choice. We would never be victims." The human formations began moving closer, and Korath could see that each ship was unique. They weren't mass-produced vessels, but individually crafted weapons of war. Some bristled with energy cannons that glowed like miniature stars. Others seemed to bend light around them, creating impossible geometric shapes. "We studied your species, Admiral. All of your species. We learned your languages, your cultures, your military doctrines. We spent 57 years becoming experts on galactic civilization while presenting ourselves as harmless primitives." One of Korath's dreadnoughts, the galactic hammer, suddenly began losing power. Its lights flickered as systems failed throughout the massive vessel. "What's happening to the hammer?" Korath demanded. "Nanite infiltration," his science officer reported in horror. "Somehow they've introduced self-replicating machines into our systems. They're disabling our ships from the inside." Santos's voice held a note of satisfaction. "We've had 57 years to plant those nanites, Admiral. Every trade delegation, every diplomatic meeting, every inspection tour. Your ships have been compromised for decades." More of Korath's vessels began experiencing system failures. Weapons went offline. Engines sputtered. Shield generators overloaded. His mighty fleet was being systematically disabled without a shot being fired. "This is impossible," Korath growled. The Galactic Council is currently dealing with some unexpected problems of their own," Santos interrupted. "It seems several of their key installations are experiencing technical difficulties." Across the galaxy, Galactic Council military bases found their defense grids failing. Communication networks went dark. Supply depots reported massive system failures. 57 years of careful infiltration was paying off as humanity's true plan revealed itself. "You see, Admiral," Santos explained, "we never intended to fight a fair war. We intended to win, and we've spent 5 decades stacking the deck." Korath watched in growing despair as his fleet continued to fail around him. Ship after ship went dark as nanites shut down critical systems. Those that remained functional found themselves surrounded by human vessels that seemed to exist in their own pocket of reality. "What do you want?" he finally asked. "What we've always wanted, Admiral. To be left alone. The difference is, now we have the ability to ensure that happens." The massive weapon platforms around Jupiter began targeting galactic positions throughout the system. Energy built in focusing arrays that could reach across interstellar distances. "Your choice is simple," Santos concluded. "Surrender and return to galactic space with a message, or be destroyed, and let your absence serve as that message instead." Korath looked at his tactical display one final time. 300 dreadnoughts had become less than 50 functional vessels. The most powerful fleet in galactic history had been reduced to scrap without humanity firing more than a single demonstration shot. For the first time in his military career, Admiral Korath gave an order he never thought he would speak. "All ships, stand down and prepare for surrender." The emergency session of the Galactic Council convened in chaos. Representatives who had been celebrating humanity's imminent subjugation now faced reports that defied comprehension. Admiral Korath's once mighty 7th Battle Group limped back to galactic space as hollow shells, their crews traumatized and their weapons systems completely disabled. Chancellor Vextar's forearms shook with rage as he read the tactical reports. 1,500 human vessels, quantum manipulation drives. This is impossible. Our intelligence networks are the most sophisticated in the galaxy. "Apparently not sophisticated enough," observed Unit 9, the floating orb of pure intellect. Its usual confident tone had been replaced by something approaching uncertainty. "Preliminary analysis suggests the humans have been operating a deception campaign of unprecedented scope and duration." Admiral Zephyria's translucent form flickered with barely contained fury. "They made fools of us. For 57 years we've been watching their maintenance crews while their real military remained hidden." The crystalline ambassador from Zerion Prime chimed with discordant notes. "Economic analysis indicates massive resource expenditure. Where did they obtain the materials for such a fleet? Their industrial output appears insufficient." General Webb stepped forward from the human delegation, but he was no longer the defeated figure who had sat quietly during the previous session. His uniform was different now, adorned with insignia that spoke of actual military authority. Behind him, Chen and Park had been replaced by individuals who moved with the precision of elite operatives. If I may address the Council's questions, Webb said, his voice carrying across the chamber with natural authority. Earth's industrial output was never insufficient. You simply weren't looking in the right places. He gestured, and holographic displays filled the air above the assembly. Images of massive installations hidden within asteroid fields, underwater cities on Earth's ocean floors, and industrial complexes built inside hollow moons throughout the Sol system. For 57 years, we've been strip mining our asteroid belt, converting entire moons into manufacturing centers and building shipyards in the empty spaces between planets. While you watched our public facilities struggle with basic maintenance, our real industry operated completely outside your surveillance grid. The display shifted to show vast networks of automated factories, each one producing components for humanity's hidden fleet. Robotic miners worked tirelessly in the darkness between worlds, feeding raw materials to construction facilities that dwarfed anything the galaxy had seen. Our public space program was designed to appear primitive and inefficient, Webb continued. Every failed launch, every system's malfunction, every apparent technological limitation was carefully orchestrated. We've been method actors on a galactic stage. Queen Zath's mandibles clicked with agitation. The hive mind detected no deception. Human emotional patterns remained consistent with genuine technological struggle. Because the humans you observed were genuinely struggling, Webb replied with a slight smile. We've been running two completely separate civilizations. The surface population knows nothing about our real capabilities. They believe their own government's claims about humanity being technologically backward. Their emotional responses were authentic because their ignorance was authentic. Unit 9 processed this information with visible effort. A civilization maintaining active deception against itself. The psychological complexity is remarkable. It was necessary, Webb explained. Your species have excellent methods for detecting lies and deception. The only way to fool you completely was to ensure that 99% of humanity was telling the truth when they claimed we were weak. The implications hit the assembly like a physical blow. If humans could maintain such an elaborate deception against their own species, what other capabilities might they possess? Chancellor Vex Tar slammed his podium. What do you want? Your fleet has disabled our most powerful battle group, but you haven't pressed your advantage. Why? Because, Chancellor, we're not conquerors, we're defenders. Always have been, always will be. Webb's expression grew serious. But we're very, very good defenders. The display shifted again, showing real-time images from across the galaxy. Galactic Council military installations sat dark and powerless. Communication networks remained disrupted. Supply lines had been severed by what appeared to be coordinated system failures. Our nanites aren't just in Admiral Korath's fleet, Webb explained matter-of-factly. They're in every major military installation, every command center, every strategic facility in galactic space. 57 years of diplomatic visits, trade missions, and cultural exchanges, we've been very busy. The silence that followed was deafening. Every representative in the chamber was calculating the implications. If humans could disable galactic military infrastructure at will, they had effectively checkmated the entire galaxy without firing a shot. "You're threatening us," hissed Admiral Zephyria. "No," Webb replied calmly. "We're explaining our position. Threats would be unnecessary at this point." He gestured again, and new images appeared. These showed human vessels throughout galactic space, previously undetected and now revealing themselves for the first time. They appeared near every major population center, every strategic location, every seat of governmental power. "We have 40,000 vessels currently stationed throughout the galaxy," Webb announced. "They've been there for decades, watching, learning, preparing. Today is the first time they've dropped their stealth fields." The Cerebral Collective's speaker, its massive brain pulsing with frantic activity, finally spoke. Statistical analysis suggests total galactic military capability has been compromised by 67.3%. Resistance to human demands would be inadvisable. We have no demands, Webb said, surprising everyone. We want exactly what we've always wanted, to be left alone. Earth wishes to withdraw from the Galactic Council immediately and permanently. You're abandoning galactic civilization, asked Chancellor Vextar in disbelief. We're protecting ourselves from galactic civilization, Webb corrected. Your species have made it clear that you view humanity as a threat simply for existing. We've removed that threat by removing ourselves from your sphere of influence. The display changed one final time, showing the Sol system as it appeared now. Massive defense platforms surrounded not just Earth, but every human world and installation. Energy barriers that could shrug off planet-killing weapons flickered between the stars. The entire system had become a fortress that could withstand anything the galaxy might throw at it. Effective immediately, the Sol system is off-limits to all galactic traffic, Webb announced. We will not trade with you, communicate with you, or interact with you in any way. In return, we will not interfere with galactic affairs. And if we refuse? Chancellor Vextar demanded. Webb's smile was not pleasant. Chancellor, your entire military infrastructure is currently held hostage by our nanites. Your fleets are disabled, your defense grids are offline, and your communication networks exist only because we allow them to. You're not in a position to refuse anything. The reality of humanity's position finally sank in. They had spent 57 years preparing for this moment, building a military that could single-handedly defeat the entire galaxy while maintaining perfect operational security. The humans hadn't just won a battle. They had won a war that no one else knew was being fought. What about your people who live on other worlds? Asked the Nebula Lord representative, his gaseous form shifting nervously. There are human colonies throughout galactic space. Already evacuated, Webb replied. Over the past 6 months, every human citizen has been quietly transported back to Sol system. The colonies you're thinking of are currently inhabited by androids sophisticated enough to fool casual observation. Even that had been planned and executed flawlessly. Hundreds of thousands of people moved across interstellar distances without triggering any alarms or investigations. Unit 9 floated closer to the human delegation. Query: what prevents humanity from conquering the galaxy? Your technological superiority appears absolute. Because, Webb said simply, we don't want to rule you. We want you to leave us alone. There's a difference. He turned to address the entire assembly. Humanity has no interest in galactic empire. We have our own worlds, our own goals, our own destiny. You forced this confrontation by threatening our existence. We responded by ensuring our survival. Nothing more, nothing less. Chancellor Vextar's scales had faded from orange to a dull brown. The Council formally acknowledges Earth's withdrawal from galactic civilization. All claims to the Sol system are hereby relinquished. Wise decision, Webb nodded. Our nanites will remain in your systems for the next standard year, ensuring compliance. After that, they will self-destruct and our surveillance network will withdraw. What you do with the rest of the galaxy is your business, as long as you stay away from ours. As the human delegation prepared to leave, Admiral Zephyria called out one final question. Why reveal yourselves now? You could have remained hidden indefinitely. Webb paused at the chamber entrance. Because hiding was never the goal. The goal was survival. We've achieved that. He looked back at the assembly of beings who had planned humanity's subjugation just days before. And because 57 years of pretending to be weak was long enough. Sometimes it's important that the galaxy knows exactly who they're dealing with. As the humans departed, the Galactic Council sat in stunned silence. They had learned a lesson that would be remembered for millennia. Appearances could be deceiving, patience was a weapon, and underestimating humanity was a mistake they would never make again. In the Sol system, massive defense platforms powered down to standby mode. The human fleet began returning to its hidden bases, ready to defend Earth for another 1,000 years if necessary. The charade was over, but humanity's vigil would never end. The galaxy had chosen war, and Earth had chosen to win. Now, they could all live with the consequences.